you, dancers.
Okay, today, oh yes, you can be seated. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Today, our own Glen Weber will be speaking. He's sitting right down here. Glen was born and raised in New York and has also lived in Connecticut and Chicago before moving here in 2004. He and his wife, Donnie, have been members of Pathways for more than 10 years. During that time, he taught children's religious education and has spoken on several occasions as well. He is a career sales and marketing professional, the bulk of which has been in the airline and travel industry. He loves playing blues harmonica, making lifelong friends, and public speaking. Today, Glen will share with us a few thoughts on worth and dignity, not just a principle. With a little ado, please join me in welcoming Glen and his harmonica to our pulpit.
It's funny, you say, welcome Glen and his harmonica. Should I show it to people? I'm Glen, and this is my harmonica. That's one of them. Oh, I don't know. I got too many of them. If I name them, I'll forget what their names are. I got one in each key. So, and I see we were talking about this before, that this picture needs a little more pixelation. But doesn't it look like my dog Rocky took a selfie of us? Yes. We have a video? Yeah, I think I've probably shown this before, but it's worth watching again. This is hilarious.
Hello. It's nice to see you all here. Now, as the more perceptive of you have probably realized by now, this is hell. And I am the devil. Good evening. But you can call me Toby, if you like. We try to keep things informal here, as well as infernal. That's just a little joke of mine. I tell it every time. Now, you're all here for eternity. Ooh, which I hardly need tell you is a heck of a long time. So you'll all get to know each other pretty well by the end. But for now, I'm going to have to split you up into groups. Will you stop screaming? Thank you.
I love that. And to me, the best part is he said, the Jews were right. Yes! I knew it. I knew we were right. I feel like going back to the old Bayswater Jewish Center where I grew up and celebrating. Hey, Marty, you want to celebrate with me? A little Hava Nagila, Smanishevitz, high fives, whatever we do. Really, this is kind of a fitting, with the comedy, kind of a fitting thing to look at when we're talking about worth and dignity, because for some reason, and I don't really know why, but we like to put people in little boxes in our society and say, well, this is what you are, so this is what you're worth, and this is what you are, and this is what you're worth. And you, and you're all going to hell. What a great way to spell out someone's worth and give them dignity. Tell them they're going to hell. And this is probably the first time that I saw any mention of hell by someone who's not Jewish that didn't put us there. We're always in the top 3. So we're not in hell, probably because we don't believe in it. That's a start. It's like if you don't believe in Santa Claus, he doesn't exist. Well, I don't believe in hell. Doesn't exist. That's why I'm not there. Anyway, that's neither here or there. But and I don't want to knock Christianity and people that do believe in heaven and hell. There's definitely a purpose for it. Within the confines of the religion, there is a meaning and there is a lesson to be learned. Personally, I just think we do way too much of judging people, putting them in boxes, and kind of defining value that way. We define value in a lot of negative ways in today's society. Our leadership from the top down isn't very good right now. So there are people out there who are going to feel maybe their value isn't, maybe they have no value. This guy said this, and he's a jerk, and he's a loser, and this guy got captured, and this person did this, and this person did this, and this person did this. It's definitely a problem. And there are actually some scary numbers, and I'm not blaming it all on that, but that's just one part of our society. There are some scary numbers out there on suicide rates, which kind of give you an idea of how hard it is these days to feel good about things and to feel like you belong. It's harder. I think it's harder than ever. We have our standards from media, from TV. Everybody's supposed to look perfect. That's been going on for a long time. So if you're a little overweight, maybe you lose your hair a little bit, you start thinking, that's how I'm being judged. But suicide rates, and this is what I read, 47,000 Americans, that's just Americans, in 2017 committed suicide. That's a lot. And I'm not sure if these numbers are right. I did check them, and I wasn't able to find as much as I wanted to, but there were over 1 million attempts. So that tells two stories. A lot of people are suicidal, and a lot of people use suicide, I suppose, a cry for help, because you would think there would be more successes in the attempts. But still, that's a lot. And out of those 47,000 Americans that committed suicide, the highest percentage of them are middle-aged adult males. So when you think about that, and I could speak from my own experience, it comes from feeling devalued. Middle-aged man loses his job. We're judged based on how we provide for our families. We're still kind of old world no matter how much we progress, and it's still a problem. We're judged by our careers, how much money we make, a lot of other things, maybe hair, I don't know. I don't care anymore. It's not an issue. But it's really something to be concerned about when you really get into the nitty-gritty of all this. What's going on in this country? What's going on in the world? Kids are committing suicide at an alarming rate. Teenagers, it's from the age of 14 to 17, the number went up 50% last year. And I think that a lot of that's to do with the internet and bullying. And it was a real, almost like an epidemic in Japan in the 80s and 90s. They seem to be leveling off now. But with the kids in Japan, the issue is that if one of their, and this is common, if one of their parents is Chinese and the other Japanese, they were tormented for being different. That is a very scary thing. We're doing that now here. It used to be that a child or, let's say, a teenager gets bullied, parents pick up and move as a last resort. But now when they move, it follows them. And they get bullied by thousands of people, and there's nowhere to go. So what do? I mean, we have to have a better system of values. We've got to have a better network for kids. I don't understand how we're going to do it. If anybody has read anything on the subject, and if there's any plan in place, I mean, other than being a good parent and getting out in front of it, it's definitely an issue. But there are things we can do as individuals here. First, I want to do a little trick, kind of like a magic trick, but not really. A friend of mine taught me this. This is actually, he used a $20 bill, but, you know, I'm Jewish, so I'm using a 5. I got to stop the Jewish jokes. Who here would want, say it's a 20, because it's more exciting. Who here would want this as a 20? Come on, raise your hand. All right, nice and clean and crisp, no wrinkles, perfect-looking dollar, 20, picture of Lincoln, even though it's a 20. Now who wants it? So, like this. You still want it? Anyone said it's still worth $20, right? All right. Whoa. I almost needed it for the hospital bills here. Now who wants it? All right. It's like us. You can be wrinkle-free and perfect-looking. You can be squashed, stepped on, torn apart, as long as you can tape it back together. Dirtied and everything. Still worth the same amount of money or the same value as you were before. Nobody changes value. Nobody's worth is different than anyone else's. No matter what you do, you have value. And no one can ever take that from you. What I was saying is from my own experience, and I'll go into last year. And I think I mentioned this before. Last year, I was very lucky. I was diagnosed with cancer by accident. They found something that, thank God, they found. And I'm okay, but it's still very scary. Couldn't work for a while. Lost my sense of worth completely. When you're not working and you're getting surgeries and you're recuperating and bill collectors are calling you and you start feeling like you have no value. You have no purpose. You're worthless. You feel worthless to the people around you. It's almost funny. Once insurance companies hear the C word, there goes your life insurance. So now I started feeling like I'm even more worthless dead than I'm alive. And that's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling at all. But all it takes is support from people around you, some changes, perception, and a lot of love, and you feel different. I mean, that's why I come here as often as I can. Because, nobody here makes you feel like you don't have any value. It's quite the opposite. You walk in this door, everybody hugs you. And a hug is probably the greatest thing you can give someone. Anybody want a hug, by the way? Seriously, come on up. You think I'm kidding? This is for me, not for you. We'll have a big hug fest after this. Everybody hug each other. I think we already did that in the beginning a little bit. Turn and greet. Okay. But didn't we say in the end to continue that? I really think we should. I think we should do that every single week. Because if you do that, life is just much better. What? Where is he? Oh, all huggers. Actually, not everybody's a hugger. I do have to be careful with that. You ever see that guy with the free hug shirt? What's his name? I don't know his name. I forgot his name. Wouldn't it be great if we get him here one day? You never know. You never know. He seems kind of open-minded. But I think that's a great idea. Just hug someone. You ever have... Well, if you follow me on Facebook, you see some of the stuff that goes on. All I have to do is put one little political post out there, and it's like the world's coming to an end. I wish I could just get in my car, drive to New York, where the problem seems to start every time, same few people, and go, all right, man, we've known each other 40 years. Shut up. Give me a hug. And we all start to feel or get our dignity back. And we all start to feel better about things. And that's where it starts. This is our first, thank you, principle. It's even in the title, not just a principle. This is our first principle, and I say it's not just a principle because I think it's the start of everything. I think you start with this principle and work your way up. And the reason why I say that is if you can get out in front of this with people, change people's lives, make them feel their sense of worth, restore their dignity, you could change a lot of things. Who's to say that a lot of the evil in the world, people like the Charles Mansons of the world, maybe all he needed was someone to give him a hug in the right time. And none of that would have happened. I don't know. There are some people out there, you could say everybody has value, everybody needs their dignity. There might be people out there that you can't change. There is evil out there, but almost everybody can be changed. Just opening up the door for somebody. I know that's really worked for me in the past. Someone smiles at you, opens up the door for you, says a nice thing to you. That could mean the difference between losing your temper and just doing something horrible, taking your own life, or just having your faith restored a little bit at a time. That's why I think it's important that we do whatever we can to try and change people's lives. And that doesn't mean always a lot of work. It means empathy. It means understanding, love. And love is everything, right? Love is the doctrine of this church for a reason. And we're serious about it. We're very serious about it. It can change everything. Someone feels loved, they feel valued. Someone feels valued, they get their dignity. Maybe, just maybe, when those Westboro Baptist people start doing what they do, maybe someone like us, our whole church, just get up, run over across the street where they're protesting and give all of them hugs. It might be a little dangerous, but I'm willing to take the chance. It's going to be on camera probably if they're there, so lots of evidence. So maybe we ought to just put on our Pathway shirts. And I don't think any of us really want to do that, but I'm probably too much of a coward. But I think that's really a good idea. I really do. I think to try and end an argument with a hug, because when people argue, especially close people, when you're very close with each other, you say some things in the heat of the moment that can really hurt someone, can make them feel less worth. You could take their dignity away. But that's why it's always important to be very, very cognizant of that. And I'm forgetting a lot of stuff here, as I always do. And some things, like I was saying, how I kind of lost my feeling of value and my sense of dignity and my sense of pride. And when you do that, you really don't feel like living. And that's where all those suicides come from. But remember, you all have value. We all have value. Everyone does. It's in things like your smile, which can change things, your touch, your humor, your love, your empathy, your artistry, knowledge that you have, your voice, the sound of your voice, the feel of your voice in someone's ears. You could teach others what you've learned. You could teach others why you are the way you are. Listen to other people. Get to know them. Get to know your enemies. Get to know people you disagree with. Fight for other people, but don't fight their enemies. And that's the hardest part. You fight for someone, but not against someone. That's very hard to do. To stand up for someone doesn't mean you actually fight the other person, because then you're breaking the principle, and you're taking those people's sense of worth and dignity away. You're belittling them. You're hurting them. And that's something we're doing way too much of here. How many of you get into political arguments with someone? Yeah. It's terrible. Who, us, Unitarians, we never do that. We have no opinions. But when it happens, I mean, you look at like I said before, it's from the top down. You look at what people do to each other. It's horrible. We call it, and I'm not going to say I'm not guilty of this. I am. When I start telling you drank the Kool-Aid, you did this, you're a sucker. That's terrible. That's not winning an argument. That's pouring gas on the fire. That's not what this principle is about. This principle to me is the start of changing lives. And that's what we like to do here. It's the start of making people feel that they're special. Because there is nothing more important and more special than another human being, in my opinion. And all religions will point to that. We're created in God's image. Treat everyone the way you would like to be treated. And it's across the board in every religion. The love of God, the love of people. It's as simple as that. I was talking to a Christian friend of mine Friday. He's the one that showed me the trick with the 20, which I used the 5 for. And we were discussing this subject, and he said this, and I agree. He says, all it's about is the love of God and loving each other. And I'm like, yeah, it is that simple. Why can't we get that? I don't know why we can't get that. We're too busy arguing over who's right and who's wrong and who we're putting to hell. And, as we just learned, I'm not going to be there, so, I'm going to have to talk to the other people. But anyway, it's also down to the standards that our society has for us. It's kind of hard sometimes to feel like you're good enough. Everything is media. We grow up with TV. So you see people who just look perfect, whatever that is. We're led to believe that's perfect. People have the perfect lives. Look at a sitcom. That's what we're up against. That's so shallow, and that's not what it's about. We're not perfect, but we have an edge on perfect. We're better than perfect because we're perfect plus something else. So perfect is just perfect, and we're like, I'm perfect plus talks too much. So it's an addition. Everybody's perfect plus something else. We really are. Our faults make us beautiful. Our differences make us beautiful. It kills me when someone says, I don't see colors. Well, I do. I see differences, and I think they're great. I love looking at people's differences. And to say I don't see colors means you're trying to force yourself to believe something that you're not there yet. We should be embracing our differences, embracing our faults, embracing everything that we don't perceive as perfect, and looking at it as better than perfect. If somebody has a major character fault, something that's detrimental to other people, let's help them work on it. And it starts with empathy. It starts with showing them their value by loving them, appreciating them, and understanding them. Understand your enemies. And I don't like to say the word enemies. Understand, what's a better word? Foes, it's not better. Understand the people that you have disagreements with, who you're different from, and understand why they are that way. I was talking to someone not too long ago, actually was in this room, who's not here today, who swore that every single person who supports the current president is automatically a racist. And that's terrible. You know how many people I know who support him? I don't agree with them, will argue like crazy, but that's a terrible thing to say. So I talked to someone about it. I'm like, what makes you support this blank, blank, blank? And the answer I got was, well, I don't care what kind of person he is. And I think he's misunderstood anyway, but I don't care what kind of person he is. I care about policy. Well, then I get into another argument, but it's their perception. These are people. Just because they have different beliefs, it's just like religion. Someone has a different belief, that doesn't make them absolutely wrong, and it doesn't make them less valuable as a human being. Once you get to understand that, then maybe you can discuss what you think is wrong, and maybe you can make a dent. The reason why I know minds are changed is because everyone just starts screaming at each other and using some very, very hurtful words. As Beth talked about a couple weeks ago, nonviolent words. Use nonviolent words when talking to people. But most importantly, getting back to us as individuals, there is absolutely no reason, a logical reason, to feel like you don't have value that everyone else has. And again, everyone is the same value. No one has more, no one has less. And if you do feel that way, and I'm sure at least one or two people in here do, come see me later. I'll give you a hug, and we'll talk about it. I don't have too much more to discuss on the subject, but I want to play something so you can forget about what I just talked about, hopefully. Let's see. I've got the low key of G or the not so low key of C. Anyone care? G. Wow. Uh-oh, you guys know what you're talking about. I don't know what we're getting at here, but let me play something a little upbeat for Father's Day. All right. Happy Father's Day and happy Pride Month. And there's a positive. We are really making progress with Pride Month. There's numbers on this. I don't know what they are, but I was reading this yesterday, actually. There is a lot more awareness now in the LGBT community. So something is working. It's positive, and we have a lot to do with it, too. Thank you.